Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you know that I am in the process of doing a Decan walk, but mine is a different kind of Decan walk because I'm doing it differently from most of the other people doing Decan walks out there. Yes, most of those who do Decan walks are following a tradition that is in alignment with the Golden Dawn's esoteric associations to the tarot, which is wonderful. It's fine, but I'm doing something different. I'm trying to go to a deeper strata, is how I imagine it, of associations of esoterica. When I say esoterica, I mean the Kabbalah, I mean astrology, to the tarot. And I've got a whole playlist of how I decided to approach this, my methodology, the results of my rediscovery of these associations are all in a playlist, and I'll put a card up here for you to be able to click on and hop on over and take a look at that. Yes? So, we're doing a Decan walk, and we are getting ready to begin the third, count them, third Decan of Gemini. Yes? And let me do a couple of things before we get into it. First, let me tell you thank you. Thank you for doing all of those things that you do. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up button. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. All of those things help YouTube promote us, show us to other people on the internet, and they find us and they join us, and our community has grown because of you. Thank you. And thank you to those of you who comment in the comment section. I love hearing from you. Even comments about my wardrobe. That's wonderful. Thank you. I like being seen too. So, of course, I'm not here for the purpose of being seen. I'm here for the purpose of sharing information. Yes? And how am I going to share that information in this series? Just in case you are new here, let me give you a brief outline of what you're going to see. First, I will do a quick breakdown of my reflections of the previous Decan, which was the second Decan of Gemini, keyed to Libra. Yes? So it was Venus in Gemini. Then we will hop on over to two different oracle cards. Yes, that give us broad ideas about this particular Decan. And then we're going to focus on the tarot card which represents this Decan for us. Yes? And then, so we've done several stages, right? We did the recap, we did the oracle card, which gives us an overview. We've done the tarot card, which gives us the focus for this Decan. And then we will go into the broader esoteric associations of the Decan with the two accompanying major Arcana cards. Right? So that completes the description of the Decan. And then we have another thing that I like to do, which is I look at those three cards, the two majors and the one minor, and I distill a tarot spread from those three cards. I distill questions from each one of those cards, and then I lay a spread from using a different tarot deck to answer those questions, just like a normal spread. So that's the last part of the video, yes? And you don't have to watch all of it if that sounds like too much information for you. Yes, there will be timestamps in the description box below, and those timestamps are there to help you navigate this video. Yeah, there will be a timestamp for the recap of the previous Decan. There will be a timestamp for the oracle cards. There will be a timestamp for the tarot card for the Decan. There will be a timestamp for the broader esoteric description of this Decan. And then there will be a final timestamp for the three-card spread at the end. So use those. They are a tool for you to navigate this video. Yes, and I did it all for you. So friends, let's dive into the previous decan. Yeah, we're going to do a backflip into the second decan of Gemini, which was keyed again to Libra, which gives us Venus in Gemini, because Venus is the ruler of Libra, and it brings the cardinal aspect of mutable heirs' vital attributes into the world. And they're still here at the time of my recording of this video. Yes, I like to get these videos out before the next decan starts so that you have a little bit of time to prepare. Yes, and I have a little bit of time to prepare too. So, the previous decan, yeah, we had the idea of flattery, of using words to have better communication, using communication to have better relationships with other people, right? We had the idea of flattery, we had the idea of cajoling, we could venture into manipulation. Venus wanted to balance our ideas in a more scattered Gemini environment. So there was that potential of maybe one of those two planets, Venus being the ruler of Libra and Mercury being the ruler of Gemini, one of those two planets might feel restricted under these circumstances. Yes, but we were looking at the Eight of Swords, and astrologically that card is not necessarily as disturbing as it appears on the card in the Smith-Waite deck. Yes? That trapped feeling might be the card in reverse more than it would be the card upright. Does that make sense? So, what have I noticed? Honestly, when it comes to the world stage, I may have deliberately not paid too much attention. And that could be a quality of Gemini. Yes, wanting to skim the surface of things, not diving deep. That might be my personal reaction to this time of the year, that I don't want to dive deep. I don't want to go deep into political chaos and conflict and all of those things, because I just want to touch lightly, okay, that's happening, that's happening, that's happening, that's happening, that's happening, and let's keep on going, right? So I don't have much as far as that goes. The elections here were completed. I mentioned that. I'm not quite sure of the results, but there you have it. For me personally, however, I still find myself looking broadly at information, especially around tarot, yeah? Looking for where I might have gaps in my library, where I might want to try and find a better presentation of a tradition of, well, for example, one tradition within the Tarot de Marseille. I might want to fill in a gap if one exists, yeah? I've gotten a couple of my unicorn decks. I've found them and they're on their way. So there are those. I haven't been diving deep. I've been looking broadly and looking for places where there might be, like I said, gaps, holes in what I feel like I want, because I don't feel like I need a lot more in my library. I've got it pretty well balanced for my needs. But again, there might be a gap here and there, and that's what I was looking for. Also, I met a very good friend, a very good tarot friend, just the day before yesterday now, and I haven't seen him in a long time. I hadn't seen him for a long time because I haven't been able to muster the energy and time to leave where I live to go see him. So we had a great time. We had a wonderful conversation. We complimented each other. That sweet talking stuff was there, but we were also talking. We were also having good conversation around the esoteric milieu of tarot and seeing how and where our understandings of that esoteric associations match or don't match, and seeing if we can reconcile those things. Yeah? All very, I think, Venus in Gemini kinds of qualities, kinds of activities. I've also found myself a bit more emotionally sensitive around communication, which might be a little bit of that Venusian quality here in Gemini. Does that make sense to you? If it does, let me know in the comments below. If it does not, let me know in the comments below. Yeah? So that's what I've got for this decan. Okay, friends. Are you ready? We're about to dive into I say second and I hold up the third, but the third is correct. We're about to dive into the third decan of Gemini. And this decan is keyed to Aquarius, which is ruled by Saturn. So now we have Saturn in Gemini. And don't get too scared, especially when you see the card. Do you know what card it is going? Do you know which card it's going to be? Do you? Probably you do. If you've been following along, you know what the next logical card will be. So don't get too scared by the card. Don't get too scared by Saturn. We have the fixed aspect of mutable heirs, vital attributes entering our world very, very soon at a theater near you. So let's see what's a-coming. Let me start with the first oracle card, which gives us a good summary of this decan. Here it is. Isn't that a fun and odd card? Now, just so you know, all of the decks that I'm using in this decan are mass market and, to my knowledge, still available. And there'll be links in the description box, so you can hop on over and purchase them through those, or you can purchase them on a different seller site. Be my guest. I have no affiliate links to those links below, so choose your own adventure. But here we saw from the Oracle of the Radiant Sun, which I love for this decan walk, because the author of this deck gives wonderful, concise descriptions of each one of these planets, each one of the planets in each one of the signs. So, for Saturn in Gemini, we had this card, which is concentration, which makes sense, right? Saturn coming into Gemini wants to, I think, pull in the reins and say, focus, right? Even more, with more power, with more authority than Venus had when she came in and said, okay, let's balance. Saturn's coming in and say, focus, to nimble Mercury, who likes to dance around and explore, right? So, what we see on the card is a star caught in a spider's web below. Do you see that? And according to the author, the image of the star in the web is patience and concentration. Not exactly what I thought when I saw that star in that web. I thought being trapped and struggling to get out. But apparently, I have a much more negative view of that image than the actual author and creator of this deck. Above it, however, we see an imp who is playing while riding a tightly closed pair of lips, and 7 swords are, according to her, dangerously dancing around him. So the imp is playing on the lips, which are not talking, and these swords are not safe. With those swords which are flying around him are not safe. And we also see a heart there, which was not described in the guidebook, which gives me a little bit 3 of Swords feels, you might say, which is interesting because the Three of Swords would be that would not be Saturn in Libra. That would be something else. Okay, anyways, so we do see those things there. And this author points to qualities such as a well-disciplined thinking and reasoning mind in this decan. Strong desires to achieve because of Saturn, with Gemini's talent to find quick and appropriate answers to questions. So Saturn's driving focus for success, and Gemini is able to search for different answers to questions with ease and nimbly, yes? There's a need to look like being the right person in every ambitious situation, which can lead to some potentially negative things such as bluffing, so that we look like we're better suited to the situation than we actually are, or name dropping. Yeah, well, I know this person and I know that person and that person would be able to help, I'm sure, right? Yeah, we could do and also making ourselves look more important by pointing out the associations we have, or just out and out bluffing. Some potential pitfalls, I think, for this decan. We have practical, systematic, and persistent minds, especially when it comes to solving problems. Nonfiction could be our jam in this decan. We can be over-suspicious. We could be hypercritical and a little bit twitchy. I found myself a little bit twitchy recently, but that could increase. We could only keep to the essence of matters. Only keeping to the essence of matters will lead to success, right? So following Saturn in the desire for focus is our path to success in this 10-day period. Rather than skimming surfaces, looking for diverse ideas, diverse possibilities, we want to focus and use the nimble mind of Gemini to find solutions to immediate problems, but not just looking out there. We want to focus. I think that makes sense, doesn't it? That the closed lips things makes me want to say things like, maybe it's not time for us to talk about everything that we know, right? Maybe it's not the time for us to be too chatty. There are times when it's better for us to keep our ideas close to our hearts and to ourselves, rather than telling everybody what we're thinking about. Right? And this might be one of those times. Not because we're in any danger, but because, we could be in a little bit of danger if we attract some of those swords because we are too chatty. Yeah? If we ride our closed lips through them, we could find our path through those swords by focusing our attention. And again, when a problem or a question or something that needs to be solved arises, we can quickly think of, it could be that. Okay, it's that. Yes, it's that. Let's go. Right? Does that make sense to you? Okay, so that's this decan according to the Oracle of the Radiant Sun, which sounds interesting. There are some potential pitfalls. There are some potential traps. And I keep seeing that star trapped in that web. But let's see what comes of it. When we look at the Egyptian card, the card from the Egyptian decan, that's what I'm trying to say. That we don't have a lot of information from it, but it could be useful. Here it is. This is a beautiful card, don't you think? And you can see at the top of the card, we have the name of the decan, which is Tepy-a Spodet, which means the predecessor to Spodet. And this card is now it's 35, it's not 36, but it's still here taking the place of the last decan of Gemini. The first decan of Cancer is going to be the beginning of another wheel. Yes? We're approaching the time of the turning of the wheel to the new cycle in the Egyptian decan wheel. Yes? And so here we are at this card. This decan is saying we're almost there, right? It's the predecessor to the next step. And on the card, we see a cat holding a feather, looking at, do you see that? That's a snake? That's supposed to be a snake. Yes, looking at a snake and all of its little lemniscate-shaped coils. And oftentimes we do see the lemniscate made in with the idea of a snake also eating its tail, which is also the Ouroboros, which is, I mean, there's a whole wrapping around of diverse ideas around snakes and their self-consumption and reconstruction as they consume and recreate themselves in a never-ending cycle, and then the infinity sign of the lemniscate and all of those things wrapped together. But this snake is not that. Yes? So here, the cat, maybe a leopard, maybe a cheetah, I don't know. The cat is a representation of Bast or Bashet, which is the female goddess representation of Ra or Re, the sun god. And this goddess, Bast or Bashet, is here destroying Apep, the snake, which is a symbol for chaos, darkness, and non-existence. So, the sun is there, out there, destroying the chaos and the darkness of non-existence. Very nice. With the feather of truth. So that's what that feather is. It's the feather of truth. Truth against chaos and non-existence brings light and life. That makes sense to me. So this card, I don't know if you can see at the very bottom of the card, printed is destruction of chaos. So, this card, it tells us that the path ahead will be clear of obstacles. That's nice. We can easily accomplish goals. This is a symbol of a house put in order. Yes? So, we might want to organize our homes or workspaces. That might be a good ritual for this 10-day period. Organizing our living and working spaces to open the way for a path clear of obstacles. That sounds good, right? And actually, that could be good advice when we look at the tarot card that is coming in just a little bit. But before we get to that tarot card, which is coming in just a little bit, let me talk decan a little bit more, right? You know I've got two books that I'm referencing. Yes, one of them gives us nice additional summaries of the decans, and one of them will give us needs for each one of the decans. Yes? So let me start off with the information from this book. Yes, it is by Skoyan and Acker, and there's a link in the description box below if you want to get this book. But let me read a little bit of the third decan of Gemini from this book. Yes, and The first two decans of Gemini were very sparse of information. However, this decan has a nice chunk of information. And the authors of this book say that this decan points to often having startling, original, intuitive insights and surprising solutions to problems. That echoes a lot of what we saw in the Oracle card, doesn't it? The possession of a highly organized and intuitive intelligence, especially... Now, this book likes to bring Uranus in, and Uranus is not one of the planets that I find important when it comes to tarot, personally. Yes? So, but especially if Uranus, Saturn, or Mercury is found in this decan. There's what? Okay. There's an open-mindedness and impartiality in the examination of ideas. Yeah, there's an open-mindedness here, right? And a mental outlook that is universal and humanitarian. So there's that idea of breadth of mind, not skimming surfaces, but general openness, right? Openness to other people's ideas, openness to new ways of thinking, but with focus. But sometimes that openness can cause insecurity, right? And the need that is from the other book that I am referencing for this, the need is to use reasoning ability to objectively teach others and to use the creative mind to help the masses. Yeah, so we want to teach and we want to help groups of people using our creative minds and our objectivity. Yes? So being the good symbolic representation of a professor, I think. So, have you ever been a professor? There is a dark side. Well, there are dark sides to every profession. That's not what I'm really talking about here. What I'm talking about is when we look at the card that represents this decan, we might see a little bit of the shadow side, not the dark side, not the bribes for grades side, but the shadow side of the professor doing his, her, their best for his, her, their students. Yeah? Okay, so are you ready for the tarot card for this decan? We're about to dive in now. Here we are in the Nine of Swords. Yes, right there. And in this card, we see a figure. Could be a man. To me, it kind of looks like it could be a man, but most people see this figure as a woman, sitting up in bed, probably at night. It's very dark, right? It's a black background, so it could be nighttime. The figure's legs are covered by a quilt. And if you've looked carefully at this quilt, you will see that there are zodiacal glyphs and there are glyphs for the planets. So this figure is covered with astrology, right? And they're sitting up in bed. Hands, well, their faces are, this person's face is very firmly planted in their hands. And there are 9 swords either on a wall, which is painted dark black, or they're floating in the air. Yes? Suddenly, I'm reminded of the Scottish tragedy by William Shakespeare, in which one of the characters sees a dagger floating in front of them. Yeah? But that's not the purpose of this card. The purpose of this card, we generally think of what? If you put yourself in this position and you imagine that it's late at night and you're sitting in bed, probably you've woken up from sleep, we think of this card as the nightmare card, right? or anxieties, worries, maybe panic, maybe severe distress. We think of very negative things, and this is not necessarily the most anxiety-ridden card in the entire deck, but it's pretty close to it, yes? And remember when I was talking about the professor? Yeah? If you have ever been a professor with an open mind to your students, and you have the desire to help them expand their minds and to focus their minds and to engage their ability to question and to engage with information and material and concepts, there will be times when you, in the privacy of your own home, after you've put out and you've gotten feedback, sat up or just sat in bed with your face in your hands like this and have thought to yourself, what is happening? Why don't they understand? How do I make this understandable for them? How do I get them engaged in this? What's going on? Yeah, it happens. It's the shadow side of a teaching profession, right? And it's not only professors, it's other teachers as well. We have those times. So that if we have an open mind and we're interested in doing the work of engaging other minds. So those are possibilities. But again, what do we have here? Astrologically, we have the third decan of Gemini, which is keyed to Aquarius. Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, so we have Saturn in Gemini. And because of all of that, we have the fixed aspect of mutable heirs' vital attributes entering our world in this decan. And because it's a 9, we have the 9th Sephirah being Yesod, which is foundation. It's the foundation before manifestation. All of the energy of the divine has moved through all of the Sephirah, and it's right there, about to manifest into the kingdom, into the world. And sometimes at that point, right before manifestation, there is that moment of anxiety of, is this all going to work out okay? Is it really going to happen? Is this okay? Is it good? Are we going to make it to the final step? Right? So those qualities are here in the 9s, as well as the anticipation and, oh, something's going to happen. Something's about to occur. Yes? Now, a question that I might look to when I see this card is heightened mental clarity. And it's not a question. It's more of a keyword, right? Heightened mental clarity. And sometimes heightened mental clarity is not all that comfortable. And it can produce this, but this would be maybe the card in reverse for me. There's a more positive, a more productive, I would say, aspect to the 9 of Swords that we're going to look at when we see the astrology here. So upright, it's heightened mental clarity. Great. Saturn in Gemini. Great. We can have startling and intuitive insights that are solutions to problems. But those startling and intuitive insights could also be disturbing. Yes? So, some of them could be very beneficial, very helpful for our figuring stuff out. But when this card was reversed, those intuitive insights could be disturbing, yes? The idea of reason is here. Organized and intuitive intelligence. There's a broad humanitarian outlook that is included in this decan. We think about more people. Not just me and my partner, me and my friend, me and my mother, my father, my son, my daughter, my child, my pet, right? We're looking more broadly at larger groups of people. And depending on the breadth of your perspective, it could be your workplace or the place where you study or the other groups that you interact with, to even larger societal spheres of gatherings of people and minds. There's also potential eccentric quality and an unpredictability to this decan. There's a possibility, remember those closed lips in the oracle card? Yes? There's a possibility of being reserved and serious, not into frivolous small talk, right? If I'm going to talk, it's going to be important, so you'd better listen. Right? I'm not going to be a chatty person. And we talked about that with the oracle card a bit, right? So upright, the question I would ask of this card is, what idea or worry has reached its limit? What idea or worry has reached its limit? Now, because we've got the third decan, yes, we also have the planet of the rulership of the sign in its exaltation. So the ruler of Gemini is Mercury. Mercury is exalted in Virgo, right? Which could be bringing in those somewhat critical aspects that we've already mentioned. We have acute awareness here. Our thought is looking for flaws. Our mental focus is sharpened through Saturn, but also through Mercury being exalted in Virgo, right? And Virgo, of course, is an earth sign, which is, earth is ill-dignified to air, which is where we are now. So there's that discomfort there, yes? And clarity comes through precision, through Virgo and also through Saturn. So, focus, right? Precision, clarity, being careful of being hypercritical, hyper-focused on flaws, but being aware that we could find and fix problems, yes? And being aware of when we are moving close to the cliff in our worrying states, yes? Because that's not going to be helpful. That will pull us into this card in its shadow aspect of darkness and worry and nightmare. And we can avoid that, I think. So, friends, that's this decan. Now, if you're ready, we're about to dive into the two major arcana cards which are informing this Nine of Swords. Are you prepared for that? Here we go. You see here the three cards are from left to right, the Chariot, which is here for Gemini, the Nine of Swords, which is here for this decan, and then the High Priestess, which is here for Saturn. Yes? And if you're curious about why these cards are here for these aspects, for Gemini and Saturn, that card I put up a while back that points to the playlist which describes my reasons and ways I'm associating astrology to tarot will explain all of that for you. But we're going to start off with Gemini, right? We've seen Gemini here in the Chariot for the previous two decans, yes? And the Chariot, and you see here the Tree of Life, yeah? The Chariot is associated with Zayin, which is sustenance and it's nourishment, but it's also a weapon and a sword, the sword of the mind, the weapon of the mind, cutting up time, and also spiritual warfare. And Zayin is the letter on the path which connects Hokmah to Gevurah, our wisdom and either severity or strength or judgment. Yes? So Gevurah is severity. It's the severity of power. It's the severity of order, of rules, of justice and judgment. Yes? And we also had that rune, Gebel, which tells us information such as divine generosity, partnerships, the two horses or the two sphinxes or the two beings which pull the chariot cart forward, that partnership which will help us move in the direction we want to move. Also loyalty and exchange, right? So the positive aspects of the chariot are things like flexibility, intelligence, communication, and adaptability. All things which inform Gemini very strongly. So we have those Gemini qualities of bringing the duality together into a unity. Yeah? Severity and mercy together to form that central pillar on the tree of life. The twin tablets of Moses which form one whole. Yes? Communication and intellect together. And also pointing to times for study, for reception of divine wisdom. All of those things inform the Nine of Swords on one hand. But then we've got Saturn coming in through the High Priestess, right? Well, for you, High Priestess is over here. Yes? And the High Priestess for us in this Decan walk is keyed to Saturn. And also, the High Priestess is keyed to the Hebrew letter Bet. So, if you look at the chart for the Tree of Life here, you can see that Saturn is placed on Binah for the High Priestess, right, which is understanding. Makes perfect sense for the High Priestess to me. And we also have the connection between Chokmah and Chesed. Chokmah and Chesed, which is connecting wisdom to understanding. I'm sorry. What did I just say? I'm sorry. It's connecting our wisdom to loving kindness. Yes? Bet connects Chokmah and Chesed. Yes, which is wisdom and loving kindness. So there's the connection of the mind and the heart here. The conscious and maybe the unconscious, perhaps. Yeah, our thoughts and our emotions are connected here through the High Priestess with Saturn. Giving us boundaries, giving us limitations, giving us structure and organization and justice. Does that make sense? And she tops the mother pillar here with Saturn. Yeah? Binah is the top of the mother pillar, which is the pillar of severity, topped by the High Priestess. That all makes perfect sense to me. Does it make sense to you? If so, let me know in the comments below. If it does not, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. You know that, I hope. Yes? Good. So, what is the High Priestess telling us? Well, the letter Bet is a house or a dwelling, but it's also the universal home, right? It's the temple of the divine, which is great for the High Priestess. It's creation and duality. So, the borders and the organization creates a duality, right? And you see the high priestess there sitting between the two pillars, sitting there as the central pillar between the two pillars of perhaps severity and mercy. It's the male and female that she sits between. And Beth is the letter for blessings and the world as our home. Now, we also connect to the rune from the Elder Futhark of Uruz. Yes? Uruz, which is the wild ox, right? Its strength, its energy, its speed, its courage with determination. It's that raw power, which she has. And she she engages to be able to do the work that the high priestess does of separating the physical and the non-physical, just like Saturn does, right? Saturn traditionally is the border between the manifested world and the non-manifested, the spiritual world, the divine world, just like the high priestess is. This is the planet of the Sabbath as well. Now the Sabbat, which is the Saturn. And so this is the card of stopping and resting. It's the planet of Saturn is the planet of boundaries, of limitation, of discipline. We're bringing these into the atmosphere and the environment of Gemini, which makes sense with those things that we said about the Nine of Swords, right? There's responsibility here. And the physical world of matter and time. It's the beginning, the descent into matter. Bringing form and structure to abstract concepts. And that's the work of the high priestess, right? And understanding. And she is the one who will not gatekeep as in arbitrarily keeping people out, but making sure that only those that are ready are able to access information that they are ready for. Which is the work of Saturn, which is the work of the high priestess, and which is the work that is entering this Decan of Gemini. That focus, that structure, boundaries and discipline enter into Gemini, which could be uncomfortable. And if it becomes very uncomfortable, that center card of makes a lot of sense, right? But we don't have to get trapped in that, I don't think. I think we can engage with that focus and the discipline. And then when we need to find answers to problems, other ideas to support or to fill in gaps with what we're focused on, we can do that with Gemini. But we want to focus. And with that focus, with the high priestess, that the idea of intuition, the very unfocused, that very unorganized, disorganized, unconscious will be able to will be able to send information through the portal of the high priestess for us to access as intuition and insights. Does that make sense? So this could be a very productive, interesting, inspired time of the year for us if we are able to avoid the pitfalls, which could bring us into that anxiety and nightmare feeling of the Nine of Swords. Can you see that? Okay, so, friends, I did pull a spread for us. And what questions did I come up with this time? I don't know what you think. I hope you see the benefit of the questions that I am pulling from these cards. If you have different ideas, I would love to hear from you. Yes? But the questions I pulled, beginning with the Chariot, were, where can we look to reconcile differences? Right? The differences of the mother pillar, the father pillar, the white sphinx and the black sphinx, the male, the female, right? Those differences that are in our experience of a dualistic world, where can we look to reconcile those? Yes? And doing that reconciliation, then the question I pulled from the Nine of Swords is, what insights can be gained? Right? And something else I'd like to drop into your mind is, when we look at the Nine of Swords, we see this gesture, right? We see that gesture. We think nightmares, we think worry and anxiety. But sometimes, have you ever awoken with an idea? But to really understand that idea from the unconscious, you want to block out external stimulation so that you can really open yourself to that one thing which is still very ephemeral, but to be able to open the pre-conscious mind. You want to close off as much of the material world as you can to be able to open up the pre-conscious. I don't know if I'm making sense. So that could be this gesture as well. Doing that to limit external stimuli so that you can give more attention to this ephemeral thing which suddenly appeared. Yes? So, what insights can be gained from the reconciliation of differences? That's the question I pulled from the Nine of Swords. And then, from the High Priestess, the thing I wanted to know is, how can those insights be implemented or realized? That Saturnian quality of, let's focus and do something with this. Instead of just toying and playing with the ideas like Mercury might want to do, Saturn says, let's focus and let's do something with this. Let's bring this non-physical down into the physical realm. I don't know if you noticed this, but I've got a much more positive appreciation of Saturn to many people, I think, out there. I might be wrong, but I think I do. And I think that's a good thing. So, friends, before we hop on to those things, I want to just take one more look at this tree of life. Yes? What do I see in this? I see the High Priestess there in Binah, yeah? Radiating her Saturnian self, right? And lighting up the paths between Chokmah and between our wisdom of Chokmah to the organization, boundaries, strength, and severity of Gevurah, and to the open-hearted, loving-kindness aspect of Chesed. Yeah? So our wisdom goes on these two paths for organization and for openness. And then it drops down into that pre-manifestation Yesod. Can you see that? I don't know if that is meaningful for you, but let's see. Okay, so what I will do now is I will show you the three cards that we got for those three questions I asked. Where can we look to recognize difference? Where can we look to reconcile differences? What insights can be gained, and how can those insights be implemented? Let's look at the answers to those questions right now. Ladies and gentlemen, do you like this deck? I love this deck. Now, it's called the Tarot of the She. There's a link in the description box below if you want to get it. But if you do get it, just in case you don't have it already, if you do get it, just know that I trimmed mine. Yeah, I trimmed the side borders off of mine, and I edged the deck in purple because I think it matched the cards nicely. But just know my deck is trimmed. There is a fairly thick black border around all sides of the cards if you get them new. Okay? So, the cards you saw in response to the questions I said were from left to right. The Temperance card, yeah? And then we had the Emperor. And then we had Dancer Prince, which is Gift of Expression. Pretty good for Gemini. Although Princess, not Prince, Princess. Dancer Princess is, the dancers are the water suit, and the princess would be the page if you're a Smith-Waite follower, right? So we have got the Page of Cups as the last answer. So, just looking at the three cards, yeah? First thing to remember is that we got the Temperance card for the first decan of Gemini in the same place, responding to the question that we pulled from the Chariot card, right? Just 2 decans ago. So that was interesting. Another thing that I noticed in the spread, now it would have been a little bit clearer or more, the information would have been more powerful or would have been stronger if the Temperance card had been between the Emperor card and the Page of Cups, but looking at those 2 cards, right, we've got the fire, very clear fire in the Emperor card image, and then we've got very clear water in the Dancer Princess image. And in the Temperance image, we see the bringing together of those 2 things, right? The bringing together of fire and water, of this hot sun and the cold ice. Yes? So I think we still want to think of that as an element of this 3-card spread. That even though each one of these cards is answering a specific question, and therefore these cards are coming in this order, still, overall, this spread is pointing towards the bringing together of, I think, the Emperor qualities and the Princess, Dancer Princess, or the Page of Cups. Yes? Can you see that? You'll also notice the echo of the, I don't know if you noticed, but I noticed the echo of the general shape of image between the Temperance card and the Emperor card, right? So in the Emperor card, we have the figure above what looks like a kind of spherical shape, right? With fire coming out of his head. In the Temperance card, we've got the angel figure above a spherical shape with looks like air or maybe coolness coming off of her. I don't know if you see that. But there does seem to be, even just between the Emperor and the Temperance card, a bit of a yin-yang quality to those 2 images as well. Now, in the Major Arcana for this deck, each one of those cards has, do you see this image on the back of this card? Yeah? This is a glyph that runs throughout the Major Arcana. And you can see it in the Emperor card right below the Emperor, right at the bottom of, in that yellow part of that sphere. Do you see that glyph there? Now, I had, for the life of me, the hardest time finding that glyph in the Temperance card, but it's there. If you look at the card, it's in the lower right-hand corner. It's in the dark, underneath the that kind of teardrop shape-ish sphere, at the bottom, right? You see the standing stones, you see the figure between the standing stones, right? There's that white environment, and then outside of that white environment, there's the dark green of the earth, the universe, whatever, yeah? In that corner, on the lower right-hand corner, there is a glyph there. Trust me, it's there. Just really hard to see. Okay, so where can we look to reconcile differences? Well, temperance, right? Reconciling differences is the job of temperance. And you see, the temperance figure is reconciling ice and fire, is reconciling the moon and the sun. Yes, male, female. It's the first card that the creator, the artist and creator of this deck drew. Yeah, she drew this card and then she realized, oh, I'm creating a tarot deck. I think it was originally supposed to be an angel for a Christmas card or something like that, but she looked at it and realized this is something else that I'm starting, right? Very interesting story to the beginning of this deck. Beautiful deck. So what do we get? Temperance, right, is associated, oh, and there's the Tree of Life here. You were already looking at it, I'm sure. I did not put the Tree of Life up for me, though. Okay, so, but I remember where this stuff is. Okay, so the Temperance card is associated with the Hebrew letter Nun, which is the Hebrew letter for serpent or a fish. But interesting also for the faithful one. Also carrying knowledge from the old world to the new, like Noah, carrying the animals from the old world to the new one after the flood. And Nun connects Netzach and Yesod. Netzach and Yesod, which you can see there, but I cannot because I forgot to put up this version of the Tree of Life, which connects our victory to our foundation. Yes? So we've got success connecting to the foundation, which was already pointed towards in the Nine of Swords, right? So we've got the Nine of Swords in Yesod, and we've got Yesod and Netzach connected with this card in Temperance. We also have the Hebrew letter of Perthro. Not the Hebrew letter, the what is it called? The rune, right? Perthro, which kind of looks like a dice cup on its side. And that's the rune for decisions, for mystery, for prophecy, for fertility as well, for occult skills and initiation, which is great considering the High Priestess is part of the 3 cards for this decan, right? And positive traits for the Temperance card are things like emotional sensitivity, deep understanding, and spiritual intuition. Yes? For us in this walkthrough, in this decan walk, Temperance is associated with Scorpio. And the aspect of Scorpio that is intriguing for Hebrew astrology is that the scorpion, has 2 aspects. It has the poison and the antidote. Right? There's the wound and the healing, which are combined in one animal. It's bringing this also, it's also doing things like bringing the subconscious and the conscious thoughts together. It's to working on unresolved issues. It's the sting of intense emotional pain that is necessary for deep personal growth and spiritual rebirth. So where can we look to reconcile differences? We look to the reconciliation of the differences and the discomfort that it might cause, but knowing that that discomfort, that pain, is the process of our growth. It's the process of the caterpillar in the cocoon transforming into the butterfly. For this, for the creator of this card deck, yeah, she points to things like apathy, frostiness towards holiness, and a cool, calculating approach, which I don't know. But there's also intense passion and a powerful inner strength here. So maybe she wants to combine this a cool approach, mother pillar, to a passionate inner strength of the father pillar. Or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it's the severity, the passion, and the strength of the mother pillar, and the cool, frosty approach towards holiness of the father pillar. I don't know. Pick your adventure. I don't know. Transferring bitterness or coldness into warmth and sweetness. So, where can we look to reconcile differences? We look to the bringing together of those differences. We look to the healing and the uncomfortable evolution, sometimes even the painful evolution, that can emerge from those extremes being reconciled. Yes? And so, what insights can be gained? Well, the insight that can be gained is the Emperor, which points for us to the Hebrew letter Daleth, and Daleth is a door, right? It's the helper of the burdened. It's the empty receptacle of divine blessing. It's receiving, but it's also openness. It's poverty, it's humility, and it's transition. Like a door is a transition from inside to outside or outside to inside. Yes? It's the servant leader. Yes? And the association of Daleth is to Mars. Yes, and Mars is the fiery planet for us, really. Yes, it's the fiery planet, it's the red planet. And so it's also placed on Gevra, right? You can see Gevra lit up over there in purple. Severity is lit up here. Now we were connected to severity through the chariot, and here it is lit up in the Emperor. And it also connects Keter to Tiperet, which means it connects the monad, the crown, to the heart of beauty in Tiperet. It goes right down that center pillar, which is beautiful, I think. So what insights can be gained? Well, we have those things, being the open receptacle, being the servant master, being the one who leads in humility, the one who connects our crown to our heart. We also have the rune of Ansuz, if you were interested in that, which is messages, it's inspiration, it's enthusiasm, it's visions, but it's also health and harmony and truth and wisdom. Yes, all of those things are possible with the insights that are gained from the opposites being reconciled in temperance. Now, we have strength, we have power and judgment in the Emperor. We have divine might and severity in Gevra, and the power to set boundaries. Also a total Gevra kind of action, yes? But it also works because we've got Saturn here in this mix very strongly. The guidebook for the deck that we're looking at points to things like discipline, structure, and harvest as well. Yes? It's fire's form. It's the genesis of civilization. And the emperor, I don't know if you can see him. So this is a very difficult work of art for me to see. And when I say that, I don't mean my emotional reaction to it. I mean, to understand what I'm looking at. What we're looking at here, usually what I see is this guy holding on to some kind of a thick pillar, but that's not what's happening. Yes? What's actually happening in this card is the emperor is standing there and has a cloak of the autumn harvest, those reds and greens and browns, yes? And in one hand he holds a scepter, and the other hand with the cloak is raised the cloak up like this. So we're seeing inside the cloak. And that light is the radiant energy from the scepter. So the scepter in his left hand is radiating energy down and in towards the inside of the cloak. Do you see that? I always have to look at the book to see that again, because what I see is this guy holding on to this kind of weird red pillar, but that's not what's going on. Okay, so anyways, he's also wearing a torque, yeah, which is a kind of necklace which goes around the neck and is open in front. So I guess you spread the torque open, put it around your neck, and it closes. It's an accessory body decoration from the Bronze Age, especially Celtic tradition. So we have that there. So that's a sign of authority. We have a torque for authority. And one insight can be gained is we can have the authority, but we maybe want to have that authority as the master servant, or servant master, the master who serves those around us. And the power to set boundaries, the organization, is going to be beneficial for us with the insights that can be gained. Yes? So, the next card is the Dancer Princess, right? It's not exactly the opposite extreme, but still, fire, water, yes? Emperor, princess, kind of dichotomous aspects of personhood, right? And so the question was, how can those insights be implemented or realized? We do that as the Page of Cups, the Dancer Princess, which keys us to Mercury in cardinal water, which is Cancer, and the ruler of Cancer is the moon, so we've got Mercury with the moon in Cancer. Yes? All of the pages for me are cardinal. So this is cardinal water, which is Cancer. Cancer is ruled by the moon, so the moon is there. And all of the pages are Mercury, so we've got Mercury with the moon in Cancer. And what does that bring to us? Well, it brings to us intuitive thinking. Yes, it brings to us a heart-centered communication and with deep honesty. It brings vivid memory. Yes, the memory, the heart center of Cancer with communication and the vivid qualities. That's all I can get right now. The vivid qualities of Mercury. Yes? Now, according to the guidebook, this figure on this blue and white horse with two different colored eyes, right? It looks like there's a blue eye and a red eye. No, the red eye, it's not a red eye. It's a red spot on its nose. It's a unicorn. And we've got this female figure lying on the back of the unicorn with her legs in the air. Don't ask, I don't know why. Walking through what looks like a large stream or a very, very small river. She is playful, according to the creator of this deck. She's playful, free, and bright. She dances for joy and the sheer delight of it. Yes, she is the lover of the sun and the child that lives in everyone. She's playful, sensitive, artistic, lively, innocent, and naive. So, the insights can be implemented or realized as we engage our perhaps inner child. We play our way through this decan. We approach life with naivete. We allow ourselves to open to our intuition, and we've had indications of opening to intuition several times in this spread. Have you noticed that? Not in this spread, in this whole decan diversity of information. Now, the diversity of information as we've explored this decan has highlighted things like intuition and insight several times. Have you noticed that? But also organization and structure with Saturn, with the Emperor, and bringing together opposites. Well, not necessarily opposites, but divergent qualities of spectrum, like hot and cold, male, female, masculine, feminine, wet, dry, active, passive, receptive, giving, master, servant. We want to bring those together and gain those insights, which can be uncomfortable, it might be painful, but then to bring those insights into form, into meaning in the world for us. We benefit by taking an artistic, a lively, an intuitive, an innocent, a naive approach to doing that work. Given the truth that Saturn is there with us as well. We've got Big Daddy Saturn there with us. So maybe that gives us more room to feel playful, and because we've got the boundaries and the structure and the order given to us, not imposed, not squashing us down, but provided for us by Saturn. Maybe. And then remembering that we had the obstacles cleared away by Tepy-a Spodet with the Egyptian decan as well. So there's a little bit more space, I think, for us to do this work, to explore these aspects, to live these qualities in our lives. Yes? Now, just a side note, last night I was with my tarot study group, with my mentees, and I decided to pull a playful, experimental spread because I was introducing them to reading cards with reversals. So we shuffled the cards with reversals in. We deliberately shuffled reversals into the deck several times. And if you don't know what that means, ask me in the comment section below and I will help you understand that. We did that, and we laid a 3-card spread. And the 3-card spread gave us the High Priestess reversed, the 7 of Wands reversed, and then the Ace of Pentacles, right? And so I kind of got I generally understood the spread as best I could, but that High Priestess reversed bothered me. I understood why she was there, and I read what I read in the spread, and my mentees read what they read in the spread. But still, there was something nagging at me. about her being there. So this morning, when I got to my office, I decided, let's do a quick exploration of that question. Why did she show up, and why did she show up reversed? So I did a spread with a different deck. And the spread, I did a pretty standard significance challenge advice spread. And the first card that came up for the significance of the High Priestess in reverse was, now I didn't do reversals for this spread, but was the Nine of Swords. Upright, there. The significance was the Nine of Swords. Right? So it could have been some potential of overthinking, of wanting to be structured, be organized, being interested in energetically and with passion transmitting information to others. And when it's reversed, there could have been the possibility of not doing that, of being less motivated, of being or going off into too many directions, like Gemini, right? Saturn wants me to focus and be structured. Reversed might have been that there's the potential of losing the thread, losing focus, losing through line to the information that we're focusing on. So hopefully I was able to avoid those pitfalls. And also the challenge to that card was, guess what? The Emperor card, right? Getting structure, getting form, getting being open to divine influence, being a receptacle of the divine, and being here to serve you. Yes? And so the final advice was the Knight of Wands, to go for it. You engage your passion, engage your fiery qualities. Yes? Okay, so just some interesting information. I hope I was able to accomplish that. Now, the final result, the Ace of Pentacles for the spread last night, told me that one way or the other, the video is going to get into the can. Yeah? So, here we are at the end of the video. It's in the can. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Thank you for exploring with me. And now, as always, I want to hear from you. And I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.